Welcome to FPB's Meet the Candidates. This Cable 10 series allows you, the viewer, to get a better look at who our candidates are who are running for local office. This is all leading up to the general election, which is on November 8th this year. It gives us the opportunity to hear from them about issues that are important to us. We've taken questions via social media and through email to hear from you about the topics that are important, and now it's time to hear from our candidate. Today's candidate that we have with us is Greg Grimes, and he is running for Magistrate of the 3rd District of Franklin County. So let's introduce Greg. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to start out because I didn't get to talk to you during the primary because you didn't have an opponent. So this is our first time meeting, and maybe the first time some of our viewers are meeting you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you've decided to run for Magistrate?
Well, like you said, my name is Greg Grimes. I'm running for 3rd District Magistrate here in Franklin County. I'm born and raised right here in Franklin County, graduate of Franklin County High School. Been married to Nikki Grimes for 11 years. She's a teacher at TFCA. I've got 2 kids, Lila and Eli, who are 6 and 8. And these 2 kids, along with all the other kids in the community, are the reason behind me running. We need to figure out how we can have not only jobs, but career jobs here in Franklin County so that when my kids and you all's kids graduate from either high school or college, they have a reason to come back home and start a family here.
That's good. That's something we try to do here at the plant board too. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience that you think has prepared you to get things done on the fiscal court?
I think the experience that I would have bringing to the fiscal court would be just a lot of different thought ideas. You know, with me being probably the youngest member of fiscal court at 33, I'm more in tune to finding activities for the younger children to do, and also just families in general, because in my book and statistics show that if you want your community to grow, you have to have things for communities to do. So, I mean, I think with, you know, new thoughts and new visions that I would bring to the table would help out a lot.
Okay. So inevitably there's going to be a new representative of the 3rd District because the seat's currently held by Michael Muller, and he's running for County Judge Executive.
Yes.
So there's going to be a new person on the court representing the 3rd District. What do you think are the advantages of having new blood on the court?
Well, like I said, just, you know, new thoughts, new ideas, new vision. You know, everything that I'm doing is for kids. You know, I want to be able to have the kids come back home and start families here. So I really think with my new thoughts and visions. Okay.
What would you say distinguishes you from your opponent?
I mean, my opponent, she has really good ideas. You know, the mental health of people with issues, you know, that's really good. But, you know, me as what I like to call a blue-collar worker, I know the job description, so to speak, of a magistrate would be, you know, drainage issues, or, you know, potholes in the roads, light being out or something of that. So I really think with me having the background in maintenance that, you know, I have the experience to help out the community and know more of what is going on and how to fix it.
Sure. So community support is an important part of public service. So tell us about just some experiences you've had working in the community. Are you a part of any like civic organizations or nonprofits or helping with the schools? What are some stuff that you've done to help out our community?
One thing that I've helped out with is the flood victims in Eastern Kentucky. Franklin County High School was wanting to reach a goal of, I believe, 10,000 bottles to donate to Eastern Kentucky. And I talked to some of the students, the senior students, and I was told that they had kind of gotten down and lost hope in achieving that goal. And I actually had a phone call that was telling me what they were trying to do, and I donated 4,000 bottles to help them achieve that goal. And I also donated my time, and with the help of certain peoples in my community for trailers, we took 3 truckloads of water to Eastern Kentucky.
Nice. So here in Franklin County, we have a lot of things going on. So what do you think is the most pressing issue facing the fiscal court right now? And if elected, what would you propose to address the pressing issue?
I think the main two things actually is the Lakeview Park. That's a big issue. I've heard a lot of negative towards it, and I've heard a lot of positive towards it, and also the expansion of Buffalo Trace. And I really feel that you have to go with what your community wants. It's not about me. Like I may be all for something, but my community wants different. And it's not about me, it's about the community. So my job will be to help the community.
So what are you hearing about the community on the from the community about the Buffalo Trace issue?
I know that, it's not technically considered in the Peaks Mill area. It's actually right outside the Ridgeview area, which is actually my district. A lot of people are concerned with the black mold fungus. They don't know the later years effect of that. I mean, it's like the coal mines. I mean, all these guys went into coal mines and the women went into coal mines, and years later they developed black lung. I mean, we just don't know.
So I'll move right into the Buffalo Trace thing and come back to my other questions later.
Okay.
So, we all know that Buffalo Trace has proposed its expansion into Peaks Mill. So setting aside what the community's hearing, what do you think about that? And is that something that you would support as far as we're talking about, changing, rezoning? They're talking about a text amendment to get that done. Is that something you support?
Well, the text amendment in Buffalo Trace to me is two different issues.
Okay.
Buffalo Trace, I'm absolutely in support of Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
I mean, they have what I consider career jobs. The statistics show that, I think the average salary that I read was $101,000 for Buffalo Trace. That's a good career job.
Sure.
They bring hundreds of thousands of visitors and tourists into our town for the bourbon.
Yeah, that's true. So you said there's a difference in supporting Buffalo Trace and the text amendment. So are you not in support of the text amendment?
I would have to talk more with the community about that, because that's what it mainly is about, the community. And if the community is against having Buffalo Trace put their warehouses out there and the rezoning, I would have to vote with my community.
Okay. That kind of leads to my next question about just rezoning issues in general. We've heard a lot that there's just not a lot of land here in Franklin County that, we can entice businesses to come or industry to come. So how would you find a balance as far as rezoning agricultural land in general to industrial land?
Well, one thing I would look at is, how long has the land been untouched? I mean, I know a lot of people want to preserve land, but the Buffalo Trace expansion out in Peaks Mill, they want to buy the 400 acres. They're only going to build on roughly 50 acres of that. I also was told that they are going to plant oak trees to possibly use for their oak barrels later on. But, if they're going to use just that 400 acres and preserve the other 300 to 350, it's all, what do you want? I mean, do you want to, help Frankfort grow, or do you want to preserve the land?
Yeah, that's the question.
And that is the question, and that's the hard question.
Yeah, so how do you find that balance? When you're the one sitting at the table, it's going to have to make a vote. How do you find that balance?
It will have to be a, community discussion, and I will have to go with what's best for the community and what they want, because overall, I mean, they are the ones that put me in this office for me to be their voice, not to be mine.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask you to do something. Looking at the current fiscal court as it is, I want you to assess the performance of the fiscal court as it is now. And if elected, would you keep it moving in the same direction, or would you try to make it change direction?
I would keep it moving in the same direction. I mean, they are taking the proper steps, and they're moving in the right direction to move Frankfort forward. I think we could have a little bit more quality of leadership. That seems to be an issue, and communication. Communication is a big issue.
Okay. Do you feel like the current fiscal court is transparent enough? Do people know what's going on?
I think with them having, you can watch it on Zoom live, you can watch it on Facebook. I think it is pretty transparent. If you want to come down and set in, I mean, you can come down, set in on a meeting and voice your opinions. And so, yeah, I think they are pretty transparent.
Okay. Part of being on the fiscal court is that you're going to have to make a lot of decisions about where the money goes. A lot of groups, organizations, departments within county government have a lot they want to get done. So when it comes to where we make those investments, what are your priorities as far as making investments in our community?
My priorities would be, I think it would have to be to see what the outcomes of each organization have. Like, what are their goals? What do they have to achieve? What it would benefit to bringing into Frankfort or Franklin County. I do know that, KCDC does, a lot with, economic development and job growth and everything. So, as long as we're not giving out, say $1 million and you're only bringing in 500,000, we'd have to downsize your budget.
Yeah. I know one thing, the city government's being asked for money from the Franklin County Humane Society for an access road. And the city government has, they've put up money in the land, and their thing is that they think county government should pitch in money for that. Do you agree with that?
That one's a tough question. I mean, I just think we could have a little bit more communication and working together to try to get it done. It's tough. It's a tough question.
It is. That's why we're here.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you this. If you received $1 million grant to use for the county in any way that you wanted, how would you use it?
I would try to buy some up of the empty storefront properties, maybe renovate them, bring them more up to par, make them their appearance a little bit better so that we could have a chance of, possibly renting them out to somebody for, the growth of Franklin County.
Okay. Well, that will lead me into, I have a question about infill.
Okay.
So what do you consider infill here in Franklin County? Because like city government, they have a project going out called the Paddocks, and that's out by the interstate, and they're calling that an infill project. Do you agree that that is really infill, or what do you consider infill?
I consider infill, my definition of infill would be smart growth. That would be, using our empty storefront properties that are inside the city limits before we expand out. If we have like those Sears building, which I know now it's looks like it's going to be occupied. If it was just an empty building and somebody wanted that location but not the building, well, instead of building outside city limits out in the county, let's just tear that building down and let you build what you need there. Let's infill.
Okay. Do you think it's time to revisit the issue of a combined form of government, like a merged government between the city and the county? We're all working on tight budgets right now, and some people think that that's the way to go to save money. What do you think about that?
I think it's been brought to the table several times, I think twice, and it's been voted down both times. So apparently the community is not in favor of that.
Okay. So if that doesn't happen, how will you propose to work together with the city government more to make things more efficient?
I think, like the Parks Department, they're working pretty good together right now. You have the city master plan on their park, and you got the county master plan on theirs. But also, if the city needs a piece of equipment, the county helps them out. So it's just a communication issue. We all need to communicate. I mean, you don't have to merge your forms of government together to just communicate.
Well, when we talk about merger, it's usually because of budget issues and efficiency in services. The city has their budget that they need to stay on, and again, they're talking about how there's a shortfall there. I know, county government's on a tight budget. So what experience do you have with large budgets, and how are you equipped to handle a budget as large as the fiscal court?
I think, my grandfather's owned Floyd's Home Improvement for 40-some years, and I've learned a lot from him as far as budgeting. He does pretty large jobs, and if if you have a budget set for a certain job, you can't go over that budget. You have to be within budget. So I think, you know, the experience that I've had from him, the experience that I've had from him will help that out a lot.
Okay. Currently, Franklin County's solid waste contract is up next year. It's over. So it's possible that the cost of those services is going to double from $2 million to $4 million. What measures would you support to make up that deficit?
That's something that I would have to look into. I haven't read up about that a lot yet.
Okay. Recently, the Fiscal Court and the Frankfurt Plant Board partnered to apply for federal grants to expand broadband services. And this would be to unserved areas in Franklin County. We have about 2,000 customers in Franklin County that don't currently have access to Frankfurt Plant Board internet.
Right.
So the court pledged $3 million for this project, and FPB approved $5 million for a total of $8 million, and the feds would match that for a total of $16 million. If elected, do you commit to make good on that pledge of funds from the court?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that our kids can use, and that's what they need. I mean, just like when COVID hit, you had people way out Ball Knob that, you know, they didn't have internet access, so they couldn't have their Zoom classes online and all that. So absolutely, anything to help the kids.
Well, good news is we were awarded all 11 grants
That's good.
for the full $16 million. Since that time, costs of materials obviously have increased and will continue to increase because it's a 3 or 4 year project.
Right.
Are you prepared to vote to increase the court's contribution to this project if needed? And where would you propose those funds come from?
If needed, yes. I mean, we could possibly look into, you know, an organization that we are funding that isn't up to par. You know, we might be able to, you know, maneuver some money around that way to help with those fundings.
Yes. So when you say an organization that's not up to par, do you have something in mind?
Not really right off. I mean, that's one thing that, you know, you got to sit down and look at and see what they're bringing.
I didn't know if you were leading me somewhere.
No.
Okay. Since the closure of the downtown YMCA, Frankfurt has had limited YMCA services, including a pool. If elected, how will you be involved to bring a new pool facilities to our community?
Well, that is one thing I do know, that the county, city, and state are working together with Kentucky State University to possibly bring their pool back up to, you know, be reopened.
So is that a temporary fix, or do you think that should just, you know, be the temporary fix while we work on something else for Franklin County, or do you think that's just something that we should do?
I mean, it's definitely something that we should do because it would allow, you know, Kentucky State to, you know, I don't know, maybe receive funds for, you know, tournaments that the swim teams might host or something like that. But, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to also look at maybe expand. I know the Lakeview Park plan has the expansion of the splash pad. So maybe we might be able to work in putting a pool somewhere in a plan, whether it's at Lakeview or whether it's somewhere else. I mean, but it's definitely a concern to the citizens that they need a pool.
We've talked about smart growth and infill. Let me ask you, how would you define economic development?
Economic development. I would say that's just the overall quality of life. Like I kind of said in the beginning, that would be having quality career jobs for our kids to come back here and start their families here instead of moving to, you know, Lexington, Louisville, or, you know, a whole different state. So
are there actions that you have in mind specifically that it's going to support and create these, you know, they call them family sustaining wages?
Right. I think one thing that we need to take a look at is the Planning Commission. It seems like I've talked to a lot of people that are trying to open businesses, and there's too much red tape. We need kind of like a one-stop shop. Like you go in here, they tell you you need to do A, B, and C. You do A, B, and C, and there you are. Instead of having, you know, you got to go over here and do this, and then you go over here and do this, and then you still get turned down. It seems like it's a biased thing to me.
Okay. So Right now, here in Franklin County, we have the Kentucky Capital Development Corporation, which does a lot of our economic development activities and drawing in industrial business. Would you support the fiscal court's continued funding of this organization, of KCDC?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, anybody that's going to take the time to help grow Frankfurt as far as economic, I would not have a problem supporting them. And I do know that, you know, KCDC was actually created for industrial purposes. So I think what they're doing is a great thing. I think, you know, we could have a little more communication to help out.
So how would you rate the performance of KCDC right now?
Right now, I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing on the budget that they have.
Okay. Another group that we have is Downtown Frankfurt, Inc., and the fiscal court also supports some of that effort. How does that organization fit in to your vision of the fiscal court?
I think that organization I think they're more concerned with the history of downtown Frankfurt is what they were for. And I think that's a big part of, you know, downtown Frankfurt is just preserving the history of downtown Frankfurt. So I would not have a problem, you know, supporting them.
Okay. So, well, we have a lot of businesses, not only in downtown Frankfurt, but all over Franklin County, that our business community would say that Franklin County is not necessarily business friendly. So what do you see as the top concerns, particularly from the business community, that the fiscal court should address?
I think that goes back to the Planning and Zoning Planning Commission. You know, like I was saying, it's too much red tape. I actually talked to a guy that was wanting to have a stationary food truck, you know, in Frankfurt. And he either couldn't get a phone call back, or they kept telling him he had to do this and had to do that. So he chose to take his business to, I believe it was Lawrenceburg. So, I mean, there's, you know, opportunity lost for revenue in Frankfurt.
So how would that fit into making us more competitive with our surrounding counties? What else do we need to do?
It makes us more competitive by, you know, allowing new business just to come in and have it, you know, a lot more open and easier to access what you need to open a business instead of having to wait, you know, 6, 7, 8 months to try to get just the permits to open your business.
Particularly since the pandemic, and we have found everywhere you go, there is a lack of skilled labor. There's a lack of a lot of labor.
That's everywhere. That's not
it's a major obstacle to our employers.
Yes.
So as a member of the fiscal court, what are some actions the court could take to help grow our workforce here in Franklin County?
We already have like the Career Tech Center at Franklin County. I mean, that's a good thing for kids to do, to possibly go out and start a career, because I know a lot of people don't have the funds necessary to go to college to get the education and everything. I just think it's, you know, trying to figure out, going job to job, so to speak, and figuring out what you want to do to, you know, get your paycheck, so to speak.
Okay. Are there any decisions or steps the fiscal court has taken that, looking back now, you would have done differently?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I think they're on track with everything that needs to be done.
Okay. You mentioned it earlier, but I just want to give you the chance to just lay out your goals. What are the goals for your term if elected?
Well, I know a lot of talk is the Lakeview Park, the master plan. I would most definitely like to be a big part of that plan, getting it up and going, getting, you know, what they call ground broke on getting this going. I know that they run into a little roadblock with the sports complex, but there are, you know, ways around that, you know, the State Journal has come out and said that we can get around it, but the rest of it, we could definitely break ground on and get that up and going. So I just want to be a big part of developing Frankfurt and, you know, giving my thoughts and ideas.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to let you address our viewers directly and tell our viewers why you're the best candidate for this position and ask for their vote.
Sounds good. My name is Greg Grimes. I'm running for 3rd District Magistrate here in Franklin County. These two children, along with all your children in the community, are the reason behind me running for magistrate. I want to be able to have a community with good career jobs that when our kids graduate from high school or college, they come back here and start families so that we can continue to grow as a family. I want to be able to spend time with my grandchildren and not have to go to, a different county or a different state. I want them to come back here.
Well, I certainly do appreciate your time today, and I know our viewers do because they want to hear from our candidates, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, it is Greg Grimes. He's running for magistrate of the 3rd District. It's election season, people, so it's time to get informed, and that's why we do these things. So remember that General Election Day is November 8th. Go vote, and then go home and watch us on Cable 10. We'll be coming at you from the county clerk's office. It's time to get informed, so your voice is your vote. I want you to use it.
If you have any questions, you can contact me on Facebook, Greg Grimes for 3rd District Magistrate, or you can even give me a call or text at 502-320-7799. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks so much for watching.